Relax, sit back as we fill your mind with spooky true crime stories of the deranged, unhinged, and absolute pure evil murders that will blow your mind. Some places we will visit to show you around and educate you on the history. Other times we will bring you to the paranormal because the dead never lie silent for too long.
Be the last time anybody sees us alive. I don't know where she has us, but we're gonna get something killed.
Hello? Gina, there is a beehive over there. Do you see that in the hole?
Buckle up, Buttercup.
Welcome to 50 States of Madness.
This episode contains content that may be alarming to some listeners. The topic presented today is of a graphic nature and will be discussing violence against children. We do our best to talk about these topics with respect and sincerity, and we hope you will join us whenever you feel ready and able.
Welcome to 50 States of Madness.
Hi, good afternoon.
I said that really fast.
That's right. They'll understand.
Welcome to 50 States of Madness.
We're really super excited to be back here live today.
You thought you were watching this on double speed, huh?
Slow down the video.
Have you ever accidentally pushed that like time and a half or double time and you don't know?
I read, that's how I listen to my books on tape.
Are you serious?
Yeah, because I don't like it, so I can reduce the amount of time I have to sit there and listen so I can get through the books faster. I put it at like 1.5. I don't put it too much faster, but I do it faster. It takes me like about, I don't know, a paragraph to get used to the speed, but after I get used to it, then I can process. My processing's not that great anyways. When it's
the same, mine's terrible.
Yeah, especially when it's auditory, but
yeah, there's no way.
Well, just to give a preface to people in the beginning, this is going to be a shoot the shit again, and we are going to go off the cuff. We're just talking freely with one another.
Yep.
So if that's not your thing, I'm sorry, but we just got back from very busy. Gina, unfortunately.
Yeah, my uncle passed.
Yeah.
Last Friday, so it's been quite a whirlwind of things going on, trying to get everything organized. But I've just been super, super busy, ridiculously.
It's
busy.
been really hard.
And my aunt does not live close to me, so trying to do all of this from a distance and then spending time out there, and then coming back to work. It's been, I haven't had like a free second to do much, but.
Yeah, but we'd love for you to hang around and stay with us and just kind of listen to us shoot the shit on the Keddie Cabin Murders and other things that are happening. But I haven't seen Gina in a couple weeks, so I was going to try to catch up with her. But I said, you know what? Let's do it on the podcast. Yeah. I'm going to catch up with her. So I wanted two things. If you see me pushing my wrist, boop, boop. You know how I suffer from those hot flashes? And I swear to God, we are not at
Sponsored?
the level.
Here we go.
Thank you.
We go.
We are not at the level of a podcast to have sponsors.
You never know.
We truly just talk about stuff we like. Or we don't like. So I got today in the mail because there's this thing called Ember Wave, EMBRE. And if you watch enough YouTube videos, it has probably popped up on you if you're middle-aged like me. And so, because they know who we are. It's crazy creepy. Right? We've talked about it before.
Your age is probably on your YouTube.
Oh, you're right. My date of birth, or at least my year. Yeah. And also, too, it's what you Google. So when you're Googling shit, they sell your shit to things. And that's why advertisements come up geared towards you. So it sold me this Ember Wave because I suffer from hot flashes and sometimes they get really bad. So it's my first day wearing it and I didn't want to spend the $300. Here, I'm sounding like a commercial.
I was going to say, this sounds pretty scripted, but go ahead.
I didn't want to spend the $300 to pay for it if I didn't know it worked or not.
Yeah.
So I went on the Ember website though, because I was getting really desperate and I didn't know they had a subscription. So you can get either a refurbished one for $20 a month, or you can get a brand new one for $25 a month. You can try it out. There's no minimum amount of time you have to keep it. And
there you go.
I've been using it today, but I have to say it knocked out 2 of my hot flashes super fast and I have not had to peel off my jacket.
I tried it on when she got here. I wasn't having a hot flash, but it feels like you're literally holding like a block of ice on your arm.
It does, right? Mm-hmm. It feels like an ice cube went on your wrist.
Yep.
So let's see how it works during it with the lights on and everything. I always have at least one hot flash during this time. So if I'm on my phone and I'm trying to find the app, which I thought it read my body temperature. There's an app too.
Oh.
So you can personalize certain things for it too. You can say how long you want certain settings. You can name your settings.
Oh.
Right now I have it on just the regular
podcast.
On the podcast setting.
Podcast setting.
Just stay on for a full 20 minutes. But it has the default cooling at 3. I can turn it up. Look, I'm turning it up, making it cooler. The longest it lasts is 10 minutes at a time.
Oh,
but
wow.
if I keep starting,
You're going to have frostbite by that time.
I know. It's like, but I have one where it says a quick hot flash, and I can hit that one and it gets super cold, super fast. And it helps you with stress. They have a sleep mode, a comfort mode.
Oh.
The sleep mode, it like puts it on a kind of a cool, gentle sway just over time to lull you to sleep, it says. So we'll see. I'll let everybody know how that
We'll
goes.
be sponsored by next week, guys.
Yeah.
Don't you worry.
So that wasn't what I was going to share with you. I have a lot to say.
I know. She made a list. She's like, can you throw me a pen? Okay.
I didn't want to forget.
Not sure when we're going to get to this murder, but go ahead.
But no, because I was tripping out because AI, we know, does a lot of things. It writes, it does a lot of things.
It wrote our theme song now.
It wrote our theme song. And really it's supposed to be a tool. So I kind of question it sometimes with our college kids and stuff. It's really not supposed to be something you're taking straight from it. And I'll be honest with you, sometimes when I have struggles doing like, our summary of what we're going to talk about and stuff, I threw it into a program and it gives me like a really colorful paragraph to write about. Sometimes it's me, guys, though, trust me. And other times it's AI that writes it, but I kind of go in, I tweak it, make it more personalized towards us. I add our names, things like that. So on certain of our podcast, but I've never used it for it to talk for us. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Nothing like that.
And I noticed a lot of YouTube channels are doing that.
Okay. So I want to say I was, for research, I jump to different channels or every once in a while I'm like, that sounds interesting. So I throw on one and I'm listening to it. I'm thinking this guy's talking like, hi, welcome back to our channel. Talking. The only reason is on certain words
it doesn't pronounce them correctly.
Actually, it wasn't even the words.
Oh.
You know what it was? Where they take a breath. Where you normally wouldn't take a breath, like it stopped and I didn't. And I'm like, oh, that should have belonged to that sentence. And I started thinking, why is he taking like a pause in that spot? And I was like, it dawned on me after halfway through the episode that it was an AI.
Yeah, I've listened to actually a couple of them, and for some reason, as soon as I find out that's what it is, I turn it off.
That's okay. I wasn't interested anymore. Well, and I wasn't
because
interested.
I just feel like, you know what, we work so hard to do this, and honestly, not that the research and the editing are easy. It's hard, but
And
sitting in front of a camera sometimes is like the hardest part. Like telling the story is the hardest part. Anybody could sit there and like, listen to podcasts, watch YouTube videos, take notes, write up things. Like that's not hard to do. Once you get the hang of editing, that's not hard to do. But sometimes sitting here and like talking, knowing that you have to say things a certain way or not say things a certain way because people are going to get offended or take it the wrong way. Like that's the hard part.
And it is really hard to stop the ums, the likes, the
Exactly.
because people point that out.
Oh yeah, all the time.
Religiously. Like they're like, too many ums in your video, too many. I need to put something in there. So now I have a lot of gaps. Like you'll see me like go real slow because I don't want to or like. It's hard. It's really, really hard. I give credit to people, the news people, but granted, they're reading off a teleprompter.
Exactly. And we've actually even talked about getting teleprompters because
just to make it smoother.
Exactly.
But then again, it's not going to be like this conversation with you guys. And I like conversation.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people, it's not for them, especially when they want to listen to true crime and they want us just to get to the case. But I like to know about my podcasters. I like to know about their life. I like a little bit of the both and the blend.
But sometimes when you're telling a story too, like I know people aren't fans of it just being read off of a piece of paper or a computer, regardless if we're writing it or if we're just reading it off a website. Yeah. But you also have to realize that when you do these every single week, to get every single detail, because in the majority of our stories, we like to go a little bit more in depth than just the surface level, and to remember, you know, all those details,
All that
and all it's going to take is for us to get one thing wrong, and people are going to come at you.
They do. And it's funny because if we were to do this once a month, because when we first started going back and forth, hey, how often are we going to release the story? And at first we were like, is it once a month? And you started reading like, no, they say more better. It's weekly. And, you know, the pressure of being fully informed on each story each week.
It's a lot of work.
Really tough.
It's a lot of work.
That's why we kind of jump around, and sometimes we do the shoot the shits because it's
we're just
easier
talking
about
amongst
a case.
both of us, because I think a lot of people enjoy those too, and they like to see how, you know, maybe we have conflicting, you know, we have arguments about what we think happened, what didn't happen, who's right, who's wrong, who did it, whatever the case may be. Her and I don't always, you know, you and I don't always have the same opinion about about all the cases and who we think did it. Yeah. So I think people like to hear that too, not just the story.
It just becomes a little bit easier when it's more in a relaxed setting and not so, even though everybody out there who's been listening to us for a while knows I love my Dateline episodes. I like to put it in a Dateline format.
Yeah, Shannon tries to edit like it's Dateline.
I do. I try to do the videos and everything, but every once in a while you just run out of time. I mean, if you've noticed, a couple of our episodes the last few weeks have been late, but that's only because, like we said, no, it's not just because of her. It's both of us.
Because I haven't been home.
We've been really busy.
Yeah, I haven't been here.
Yeah, but yeah. So the AI thing really blew my mind, and because there's programs out there that literally write the whole thing, and they will say the whole thing. So all they're doing is actually just creating a platform for you to listen to an AI speak.
Exactly. They're not doing any of the work.
Which, granted, last week I put up a video of Chris Watts' interview.
That's
just
not
so
AI,
we can fill
though.
it. It isn't. It's his actual interview. But I mean, I worked on it, putting up the pictures and things in between.
Work.
I do.
Regardless, it still takes time. No matter how easy or hard it is, it still takes time. And even though it's something we enjoy doing, like I love doing the research on it. I love reading it. I love listening to it, watching it, everything. But it still takes time. And when you don't have time, it just doesn't work sometimes. So,
and I do get so mad at not at us, but at myself, is when we do a story and either something new comes out.
Yep.
We forgot something.
And it's always something huge.
Yeah. Like, we forgot that fact, or we forgot to say this, or there was this other suspect there. Because sometimes some of these have multiple suspects they've looked at, but we can't cover everything, or it would be a 3-hour episode.
Exactly.
And you guys, your attention span is only, according to our statistics, is about 23 minutes on our videos.
Yeah.
If you lasted that long on our 40-50 minute video, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Because you are the average.
Yeah. And we're a lot.
But you know what? If you want to become exceptional, stay till the end.
Stay tuned.
Stay till the end.
Stay till those closing credits. Because sometimes you never know what you're going to find in the closing credits.
Once in a while, we throw bloopers back there and stuff.
Yeah.
So.
And we have got a lot of comments that people love the new intro.
I sing it in my head while I'm cleaning.
I cannot get it out of my head.
I do.
I sing it literally all day long.
Why is that shit so catchy?
I don't know.
It's a catchy 80s theme song.
It's crazy. But yeah, as soon as the first time I heard it, when Dan played it for me, it's stuck in my head all the time. And as soon as I hear it, if I'm listening to something and I hear it, I'm like, oh, there we go again. And days later, I'm still singing it. Gina and Shannon.
I dance around. I hear it in my I'm like, why is it keep replaying in my head? It's so catchy.
Yeah.
But I love it. I know I threw it on the beginning. I usually throw a different intro if it's not going to be our usual podcast. I try to give people heads up, just so if you see a different intro, it's usually because it's kind of a different format we're normally not going with. Oh, good Lord, that's a frog in my throat. Sorry. I went camping this weekend.
It looked very pretty.
And gorgeous. Up in Santa Barbara.
Mm-hmm.
I went glamping, but the place we stayed, another advertisement, go to Hip Camp. It's called Harmony's Glamping. Beautiful piece of property where you stay. Absolutely amazing host. She's
host.
Oh,
Like, oh, she's a hoe. Wow.
it was funny when we're going down the 1-lane highway. It's like all dirt road and going down into the canyon. My husband, the jokester, there's a big hoe machine there, and it's like, hey, is that your friend? And I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, the hoe over there.
Better not be me.
It's like the hoe over there. I'm like, you're an idiot. Anyways, so yeah, it was absolutely gorgeous, but I was outside during the whole time, and then we had to walk about a half mile in a creek to get to a waterfall, and you're literally like up to your waist.
Oh my
walking
God.
through the creek. But best experience
I'm
ever.
sure.
It's so beautiful. So give a shout out to Harmony and Harmony's Glamping on Hip Camp in Santa Barbara. Check it out. I love Hip Camp though. I love all the options.
I never
you
heard
have.
of it until you had told me about it.
Yeah, it's like an Airbnb
Yeah.
for camping.
Right.
So I love it. But that puts us into our segue.
No.
Oh,
I want to show you something.
That's right. You were going to show me last week, but
I was
you
going to
forgot.
show you, or 2 weeks ago, or I don't even remember. But I bought myself a basketball card.
Okay.
I want you to look at it. I'm going to toss it to you.
Am I going to... Hold on.
And for those of you who don't realize we're in the same room, yeah, we're in the same room. So many people think that, I mean, there are exceptions. There are times when we do Zoom. But for the majority of the time when you see these backgrounds like this, we're in the same room. Some people, for some reason, thought we were like in different states. People have been like, oh, yeah, you're in New York. I'm like, no, we're both in Los Angeles.
LA.
We're both in the same room.
Yeah, if she was in New York, she'd be in bed by the time I would be ready to record.
Oh, yeah.
It would not even be.
No.
Okay, so we got a Mark Jackson guard card. Am I supposed to? Okay, I see that maybe you paid $5 for it because it's got a little dark,
I paid $21.
$21. Okay, I didn't know what that little dark dot on. Oh, maybe it's
Just look in the background. No, of the card. There you go. Do you see anybody?
Wait, hold on.
Do you see anybody you recognize?
Hold. Shut the front fucking door. Did you know you were getting this like this, or was this by coincidence?
No, I don't even know who that basketball player is.
No, but I mean, were they selling it because of this picture, or
That's that guy's card.
shut the front fucking door? On the back of Mark A. Jackson's card are, you can say it because you bought it,
The Menendez brothers.
the Menendez brothers in the background.
Mm-hmm.
Shut up.
I was so excited. My boss
How
told
did
me about
you
it.
find this?
So shout out to Gomez for that. I don't know. He I mean, he obviously knows that like I'm into true crime and blah, blah, blah. And we were just in class one day and he's like, hey, have you ever seen that blah, blah, blah basketball card? I'm like, no, I don't know who that is. So then he's like, hold on. So then he pulled it up and I was like, oh my God. So then of course I had to look for it and I bought it.
Thank you. I want one. I'm excited too. I'm going to have my very own Mark A. Jackson team card.
Yep.
Wow. That's crazy.
I know. I was so excited. And then I was so pissed off when I realized that I forgot to tell you.
Yeah.
And you know, like on the last episode or 2 weeks ago, we did talk about, I do like to collect this kind of stuff. And a lot of people think that it's very gruesome. But it's fascinating to me. And we did talk about why people are so intrigued by this kind of stuff and why people listen to these kinds of things. And I just think it's for some people and it's not for some people.
Yeah.
Like we've talked about, Shannon and I have been to some places where things have happened. And a lot of people have said, like, what calls you to those places? Why do you go to those places where such horrific things have happened? And I can't really answer that question for you.
Yeah, I don't even know why either. Why? I know I love history, but that's not even.
I don't love history, so.
Yeah. Well, you must love you love true crime history.
I do.
So you do love history, but like a specific genre of it. I just like overall.
But like what would make me want to stay in the Cecil Hotel in the Night Stalker's room? Like, you know what I mean? He didn't kill people there, but that whole place doesn't have a very good reputation, and you know, stuff like that.
Why is that
the
intriguing?
different places I've been? I don't know.
We need to talk to a psychologist.
I know. I should probably get some therapy, some help.
No, it just maybe there's why are some people attracted to it? Some
better
people
help.
aren't.
It can. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
There's
so
an
kidding.
app. Download now.
I'm kidding. This is all about sponsors, guys. You thought you were going to hear about a murder? Nope. You're going to hear about sponsors the whole time.
Please come stay at the Keddie Cabins up in Northern California. But actually, that's, it's not a funny story, but, like we said, we do it with a little bit of light humor just to get through it. But we are going to talk about the Keddie Cabin Murders today.
Yes.
And it happened here in California, in Northern California.
I have never heard of this city before until this story.
I had never either until this story, but I had heard about this story, but it's funny.
Once you told me, I remembered immediately.
Yes.
And I remember because that's what it was called, the Keddie Cabin Murders. For the longest time, I thought Keddie was the people's last name. I didn't realize it was the city. It's a really haunting story. Yeah. It really...
I went on Google Maps though, and some of the buildings are still there, and
this cabin has been torn down.
That cabin has, but some of the other buildings are still there, and the resort entrance thing is
so here's the thing
there.
So
the one that says Keddie Resort,
right? So when you hear and again, guys, this is a shoot the shit episode, so please don't come at me because I haven't read about this story in many, 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 many years, so please don't come at me. If I remember correctly, when you think like, or when I thought Keddie Cabin, I thought that these people were I thought they were vacationing.
No.
I did not realize until I read in there that they lived there.
Yes.
Correct?
Because it used to be a resort where people would rent in cabins. And then over time, another investor, somebody purchased it and started renting it out as homes for people.
People were like, they were poor. They didn't have a lot of money, right?
They were only paying like something like about $100 and something dollars
it was
a
very
month
cheap,
in rent. And this is back in 1981.
Yeah.
And she was actually really happy that she got it because she was a single mother, just got a divorce, moved from, I believe, Connecticut back to California.
Yes.
After her divorce and with her children.
18-year-old son John, 14-year-old daughter Sheila, 12-year-old daughter Tina, and 10-year-old Rick and 5-year-old Greg.
At the Keddie Resort, it was someplace where people would go in the heydays, and they'd go to vacation, sort of like, Lake Tahoe, Mammoth, Big Bear.
The city does not have a lot of, the population is, I don't remember what it is, but there's not many people that live there.
No, it's like one of those small little towns you pass when you're going up to the mountains to Lake Tahoe. You know how they have kind of like those little areas, tiny little towns that kind of, if you blink your eyes, you'd miss it.
Okay, so in 2022, 2 years ago.
Oh, I'm sure the population dipped way down after
How many
this.
people you think live there?
Let me say, I don't even know how many was there to begin with, but let's say that Keddie maybe had most of the population. Keddie Resort had most of the population. So let's say maybe now I'll go, I don't know, 180?
67.
Oh.
In 2010, there was 66. Somebody had a baby.
Oh. Or got married. Somebody moved in.
Yeah, so...
And I wonder how much it was back then.
And I feel like most of those people probably lived in that area.
That's what I'm thinking. Like most of the people lived at the resort. Mm-hmm. I think that's what made up most of Keddie, because it was just basically like a little stop on the side at the resort. So on April 11th, 1981, sometime between 9 p.m. and 10 p.m. that day, 15-year-old John Sharp and his buddy, 17-year-old Dana Wingate, were seen hitchhiking from Quincy to Keddie Cabin number 28. These two young boys, there wasn't a lot to do, but there was a party going on and they had went to it that night. Their sister had went to go stay at a friend's house at a cabin that was nearby as well, who wasn't home. John had been living there for months with his 36-year-old mother, and once the two boys walked through the door, police say the horror began. So they don't know if the people were there, if they followed them in, what happened. But a pair of killers either went in with the boys or were waiting with Glenna Sharp, and they tied up all three with duct tape and electrical wire. Soon after, John's 13-year-old sister Tina showed up and was bound too. What followed was a night of torture. So it wasn't even like they just killed them and left.
Right.
It was
like an ongoing thing.
And they have like with hammers, bludgeoned,
everything.
SA.
Like,
on the mother.
Yes.
By the time the killers left 10 hours later, they had used steak knives and a claw hammer to such effect that victims were barely recognizable. Whoever did this stabbed the victims so violently, they bent one knife totally double from the force.
Could you imagine?
That's crazy.
That's like a crime of passion almost, I feel like.
Yeah, we're going to have Gina solve this crime, by the way. That's
well, I already have who I mean.
She has her
maybe
suspects.
After I hear her story and her tell it, because it's been years since I've heard the story, then maybe I'll change my mind. But
so they stabbed and pounded on everything in sight. The walls, the people, the furniture, everything. Like they were trying to destroy everything in that cabin.
Overkill.
Yes. So the sheriff patrol commander, Rod DeCrona, says he shudders at the memory of first walking into the murder scene. There was blood sprayed absolutely everywhere. You knew right away we were involved with a psychopath. The carnage was only discovered the next morning by John's 14-year-old sister Sheila, who had been at a sleepover next door. To the enduring surprise of police, nobody outside the house had heard a thing. And these cabins weren't that far away.
No, they were not. We can put a picture up, but no, they were like, this one was, maybe I'm wrong. I don't even know if I want to say it. Well, I will. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I think this one was a little bigger.
Well, yes, because they did add.
There was like an addition, maybe.
They did do an addition to this home, yes. Because originally the cabins were like a one-room cabin.
Yeah.
But this one, they added another bedroom. They added another portion to it.
But if you see the way that they're set up, they're very close to each other.
Yeah.
And they're in, and it's literally like in the wilderness.
You can hear everything out there.
Yeah. There's no cars driving by. There's no trash trucks, sirens. Like it's dead silent. So you mean to tell me all that's going on and nobody heard anything?
That's insane. And
I don't know.
3 boys, by the way, were spared. The 3 younger boys were sleeping in another room. The mystery only deepens. Tina ends up going missing, so they don't find her body there. They actually, not until hours later, did they even realize Tina's missing. They just think the 3 are dead and that there is no 4th person. But Tina's severed head was found nearly 3 years later by a bottle digger 50 miles downhill at a waterfall.
50 miles
away.
That's far.
I think she was alive when they took her originally. Who knows how long they kept her alive, but to be 50 miles away. One of the children in the bedroom, 2 were Sharp brothers, and the other was a friend. Remembered enough so police could make a sketch of the 2 killers. But the boy was so young, the picture's accuracy is considered questionable. So they did question them. At first, they did say that they slept through it, but as time went on, they finally got out that one of the boys said that they woke up because they heard the noise. And they had seen 2 men standing outside with the mom. And one of them was holding a hammer, something like that. So thousands of leads and suspects have been picked over since then by deputies and FBI and state investigators, but nothing has panned out. A timeline of the case dominates 3 walls of the sheriff's office. Tips still come in, and DNA samples were sent to the state crime lab. This is... It was sent to the state crime lab 20 years later.
Right.
So DNA samples were sent to the crime lab 20 years later after the crime. It's amazing because it's been 30 years.
Yeah.
And they're still no closer to solving this than they were before. So they said usually in a crime like this, the killers get sloppy and leave more behind. But they have no motive, no suspects. But time goes on in time. So there's some conspiracy with what
Yeah.
they think a lot of it's been covered up.
Yeah.
That the police really didn't look into it because they do know who did it.
Yep.
But they're not going to prosecute because of who the people are. After the killings, people started leaving. Of course, they didn't want to stay there anymore. And within a year, the place was completely empty.
Yep.
So they just up and left. The owners put Keddie up for sale in 1984 for $1.8 million, and nobody bought it.
Why would you?
A year later,
I would.
Yeah.
But just kidding.
Yeah. But not for 1.8.
No.
So over the next decade or so, it rotted into refuge for squatters and hobos, and the county condemned most of the buildings. There is a lot of conspiracy and a lot of theories.
In these little towns, I feel like there's a lot of riffraff that goes on. I just, I feel like that kind of comes with it, with these
Easy
little
to hide?
towns. Yeah, like, no, they're just kind of off the map, Not a lot of people know about them. They're just, low profile, and 67 people or 66 people, like, come on. I feel like just in places like that, a lot of stuff happens.
Yeah.
And people seem to get into trouble, and I think things like this happen.
So when they went into the home, they found that the only items missing from the house were Tina's shoes and jacket and a box of tools. It was several hours before they took that information seriously that she was missing, and that they were going to go looking for her, but no trace of her could be found. But there is some speculation that Sue, the woman who was killed, was having an affair with Marty.
Yes.
And Marilyn found out, got pissed off. But I did not realize there was a letter that was sent.
Yes.
So we'll get to that. So Justin, he was Marty and Marilyn's son. And he was sleeping over at the house, and he was one of the boys who was spared along with the two younger boys.
The three of the boys that were in that extra room.
Yes. Was one of them was that neighbor's son. And Justin at first said he didn't see anything. Then he changed his story several times, saying he witnessed the murders, saying it all happened in a dream that took place on a boat, but he had been watching The Love Boat before he went to bed.
I don't know what kind of Love Boat he'd be watching, but Captain Steubing is not like the next Michael Myers. So
he's not murdering anybody.
No.
With a hammer.
No.
He was put under hypnosis and questioned by police, but it was hard to know if any of the information that he gave was helpful. Justin's stepfather, Marty Smart, who lived in the cabin just a couple doors down, he was a Vietnam vet who suffered from PTSD. Another suspect, John Bo Boobity.
Yeah.
He's a former bank robber with links to organized crime, and he actually stayed with the Smarts.
Yep.
On the night of the murders, he was at a bar nearby. Marty was allegedly abusive towards his wife, Marilyn. So I'm hoping I'm keeping the story straight for you guys. So we got Marty and Marilyn, the neighbors, stepson Justin, which was Marilyn's son. Then we have the organized crime guy,
Boobity,
Bibbidi
Bobbidi Boo,
who liked to drink at a bar with Marty. But Marty was abusive to Marilyn, and Sue, one story she's having an affair with him, but if she's having an affair with him, but she knows he's abusive,
maybe he wasn't
towards the
abusive
wife.
to her. Maybe he doesn't. I don't know, because I feel like that happens quite often.
Yeah, maybe.
If he's treating her okay,
then she's okay. But
then
she
she's
was
fine.
actually encouraging Marilyn to leave her husband.
Him.
Marty finds this out, and they're saying the motive is he gets pissed off, gets this guy Boobity to go with him to the cabin and to commit these crimes. And the reason why the boys were spared is because one of them was his stepson.
Yeah.
And the reason why Justin kept changing his stories because he saw his stepdad there and didn't want to say anything.
Exactly. And he was probably threatened with his life and God knows what else.
Yes. And I think that's probably the strongest.
I feel like that's what happened.
Suspect and the strongest.
Yes. I feel like
motive.
that's exactly what happened. The thing that I remember is nobody hearing this. So if those neighbors were involved, of course, they're not going to say, oh, yeah, we heard all this. So, you know what I mean? Like, to not hear, I find it almost nearly impossible that something like this would happen and nobody heard anything. Nobody's going to scream. Not even, okay, so let's just take that out of the picture. Let's say they didn't scream. Let's say they were asleep and they got them. You're not going to hear somebody like thugging on the walls and shit, like bending knives.
Yeah, destroying a whole cabin.
God, come on.
And then the neighbors that had the daughter staying the night, the other neighbors.
Yes.
Either, granted, they maybe didn't hear anything.
But they were 2 cabins away.
They were a little bit further away. Or if you know the type of riffraff that's in your area.
You just stay quiet.
You just stay quiet and you stay asleep.
Yep.
But the daughter the next morning wakes up from their house, goes happily over to hers, opens up the door, sees this horrific scene, runs back to the family's house. They come and they actually grab the 3 kids out the window of the bedroom so that the kids don't walk through
the
crime scene, because it was apparently
I couldn't
horrible.
imagine. I could not imagine.
And so, but the night, Mom was up because she was by the couch. And when I came in, Johnny was somewhere right in here, then Dana, and then Mom. And Mom was by the couch.
It's so sad because Sheila, the one who discovered the bodies, she actually later on in life developed a drug addiction due to the trauma. I'm actually wondering, where is she now?
Yeah,
I didn't even look that up.
Yeah. That's odd. You always look that up.
Yeah.
I feel like you always want to know where they're at now.
I go down a rabbit hole, and I tried not to this time. The sheriff at the time of the murders, Doug Thompson, and his deputy, Lieutenant Don Stoy, were not initially able to discern an apparent motive. The murders at the Keddie Cabin 28 appeared to be random acts of cruelty. The strangest thing is there's no apparent motive. Any case without an apparent motive is the toughest to solve. And then further, the home did not indicate forced entry, though detectives did recover an unidentified fingerprint from a handrail on the back stairs. The cabin's telephone had been left off the hook and all of the lights had been shut off, as well as the drapes closed, which is very important as well because there was a light in the front of the cabin that always stayed on.
Yes.
It should have
It was
always
with
been
like
on.
the number. Yeah.
And it was a light that was not even connected. I don't think they could turn it on and off from there.
They didn't have
was
control of it. Yeah.
That was turned off.
Yep.
Strange. So more confounding is that the youngest 3 boys were not only untouched but allegedly unaware of the event, even though a woman and her boyfriend in the cabin next door awoke around 1:30 a.m. to what they described were muffled screams. Unable to discern from where they were coming, they went back to bed. So somebody did hear them.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that part.
The description, the composite sketch of the Keddie murder suspects. Here they are right here. Justin reported then that John and Dana entered the home and argued with men, which resulted in a violent fight. So Justin, when he started talking about what he did hear, this is what he said. And then Tina was allegedly taken out the cabin's back door by one of the men. Not a lot of evidence was collected at the scene because this was pre-DNA. But I have to say, we've covered murders that were in the 60s pre-DNA, the 40s, the 30s, and they knew to take stuff from under fingernails. They did not know what they were going to do with it in the future, but
it was solved.
But they knew what to take.
They knew.
How did they not know in the 80s
what
to take evidence?
No, they should have known.
Yes.
In the 80s, no, that's
by then. Even if they knew that it wasn't for DNA, they were scraping underneath fingernails by that point.
Yep.
Sheriff Thomas called the Sacramento Department of Justice, which then sent in 2 special agents from their organized crime unit, not homicide, which struck many as odd.
Yes.
Immediately, the 2 lead suspects were Justin Smart's stepfather, and Sharp's neighbors, Martin Smart and his house guest, ex-convict John Bobbity, yes, who was known to have connections to organized crime in the area, and we said that. Both men had been seen in suits and ties behaving oddly in the bar the night before. Martin Smart later told police that he had a hammer that matched one discovered, and also that his hammer had gone missing shortly before the murders. So he's already setting up his alibi.
Exactly.
Oh, it got stolen. Later that year, a knife was recovered in a trash can outside the Keddie General Store. Authorities also believe this item to be linked to the crimes. Sheriff Thomas resigned from the investigation 3 months in and took a job instead at the Sacramento Department of Justice. His handling of the case in retrospect would be considered disastrous at best and corrupt at worst. I was told the suspects were told to get out of town, so to me that means it was covered up, Sheila Sharp told CBS Sacramento in 2016 when she was older. And the Sharps' home, like you said, was demolished in 2004. Remarkably, the tape of the anonymous tip regarding Tina was found sealed in case files, untouched by the Plumas County Sheriff's Department until 2013, when the case was reopened with new investigators. In 2016, Gamberg located a hammer believed to be one of the murder weapons in a dried-up pond in Keddie.
They wouldn't be able to pull anything off of it, though. There would be no DNA or anything.
It's been sitting there.
I would be curious to know. I'm sure they could find out like how old that hammer is.
Oh yeah.
Like, was a hammer around like that in the 80s, or you know what I mean? Like a serial number. There's got to be something on there. I know it's rusted and stuff, but.
So it was discovered and submitted as evidence in 2016. So further it came to light that Marilyn Smart, Marty's wife and mother of Justin, had left her husband on the day of the murder. Afterwards, she provided Plumas County Sheriff's Department with a handwritten letter sent to her and signed by her estranged husband. It read, "I've paid the price of your love, and now that I've bought it with 4 people's lives, you tell me we are through?
Yes.
Great. What else do you want?"
I remember this. Yes. I do remember that.
The letter was not treated as a confession,
Mm-mm.
nor was it followed up at the time.
I mean, to me, that just screams corruption, but.
He just confessed.
Yep.
4 people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
Even though Marilyn admitted in a 2008 documentary that she thought her husband and his friend Bo were responsible, which I don't think it's a thought. She knows what happened. She knows what happened.
Yep.
Sheriff Doug Thomas contradicted this and stated that Martin had successfully passed a polygraph test. It was later confirmed that Martin was close with this sheriff.
There you go.
Mr. Marty was friends with the sheriff.
I think there's a movie of some sort called Cabin 28 that is based on this.
That's crazy.
On this story.
You're walking through this because we're going through the discovery. It's like you're going to solve the case with us.
Yeah.
So in 2016, one of the investigators met with a counselor at the Reno Veterans Administration. The anonymous counselor told him that in May 1981, Martin Smart had confessed to killing Sue and Tina Sharp. "I killed the woman and her daughter, but it didn't have anything to do with the boys," he purportedly told the counselor. When the DOJ was alerted to this confession in 1981, they dismissed it as hearsay. That's strong evidence, especially since that counselor, he doesn't have, it's not like a psychiatrist who has,
right,
you know, the privy of, like, what is it called? Patient-doctor confidentiality.
Confidentiality, yes.
I don't know if that goes
but still,
along with
that doesn't, but still, if somebody's admitting, like, I mean, does that even fall under that?
That's huge. No.
You can't go to your counselor or your therapist and be like, I murdered somebody.
And that's just...
And then they're like, well, I can't say nothing. And I don't think that falls under patient-doctor confidentiality.
And all these
I would hope not.
And all these people saying, I thought doctor-patient confidentiality, if you're in danger of hurting yourself, hurting others, I think you're allowed to...
You have to say something.
Report it, right?
Because they're mandated reporters, right?
Yes.
You can't...
But I'm watching a series called Evil right now. I'm going to jump to a different subject. It's actually a pretty good... I like it. I enjoy it. It's on Netflix. It's called Evil. And she actually goes to her psychiatrist and says, hey, if I tell you something, it's doctor-patient confidentiality, right? And he's like, yeah, you know, I don't ever, I take that very seriously. And she says something to the effect, well, you know how we kind of play with that where we drop hints, but we don't say, so that they can look in the direction of somebody if we know that they committed a murder, like we point them kind of without, he's like, no, I would never do that because I take my oath very seriously. So maybe doctors, like psychiatrists have that, but I wouldn't think a counselor does.
No.
I think
there's no way.
I don't think they have the same.
There's no way.
Yeah, because like us teachers, mandated reporters,
You have to
counselors,
say something.
maybe psychiatrists, they keep that there so people
Yeah.
can talk about things. Like a priest also.
True. Oh, yeah.
A priest can't go and say anything.
Huh.
They can confess and... Okay,
Oh, when
but-
I did, I confessed. I'm just kidding.
So if somebody confessed that they're hurting a child, a priest,
Yeah,
I struggle with that.
I do too. I don't get that.
I think you have a duty to protect
Yes.
and not the person who's committing that crime.
No, not the confessor.
Not at that point.
No.
Especially if it's somebody who can't speak up for themselves.
Exactly.
Like the disabled, the young.
There has to be some clause in there. It's got to be a loophole.
Who knows? If you guys know or know anything about that, please put that in the comments, because
yeah, I'm curious about that because I never thought about that.
I know what we've learned and what they've told us, but I don't know necessarily the extent of that oath. How far
They
does
didn't
it
talk about
travel
that in
more?
our RCIE classes.
And
did
I'm
they?
surprised I did not ask that question.
Mm-hmm. Shannon and I went to church together to get
We did.
our confirmation.
Yes.
Huh.
So it's confirmed that we're confirmed.
Yes.
It's been confirmed that we're confirmed.
Yes.
But
No, but that's an old story, but there's a lot of these out here. I think that I've probably read about years ago, like this one. I forgot about it, but I think that there's a lot of them out there that just go unsolved.
especially the ones that happen, like we've talked about this before, the ones that happen pre-DNA. I think now it's easier to catch killers. We catch them quicker than we did before, but unsolved mysteries from the 60s, 70s,
Yeah,
80s, even
because
predates.
especially when you have like corruption from the authorities and all of that. And I'm not shit talking on police and detectives and none of that. I'm not saying any of that. But as awful as it is, it happens.
Yeah.
There are corruption in police departments. And so I feel like there's a lot of these out here. And they probably just feel like, oh, time just keeps passing by, and more things start happening. They're just going to forget about us. So I'm glad that this is still an active case.
Well, I'm glad they're still they need to still talk about it. They need to find out actually who did it. But the two guys who they think did it are dead.
Yeah.
So,
and that's again, like what we've talked about on so many other cases, is that, we're now to the point on a lot of these cases where people are dying.
Yeah. So
they're dead.
So a lot of times, why are we going to put our money and our resources to solve a crime where no one's going to get prosecuted for it when we can focus on crimes that are current?
I do feel like if for some reason there are families that still have members alive, they deserve answers.
It's important to know.
I feel like they deserve that. And that needs to be looked into. Obviously, you're not going to have, the expense of a court trial and, all of that. But at least to run the DNA to give them answers so they know.
If there is DNA.
Yeah.
Over there, they didn't do a very great job at.
No, this is, once again,
sealing
another
the crime
botched
scene
case.
and collecting what needs to be collected in order to solve it later on down the road. But with that being said, I think it's overwhelming for law enforcement because this crime gets committed, then especially in LA, a week later in the same department, another murder happens.
Oh,
so now we're on this.
Oh, yeah.
And then another murder happens.
No, I can't. I mean, no.
How do you keep up?
You can't. There's, and you hear so many times when you talk to victims' families and when you hear them being interviewed, is like, they forgot about us. They dropped the ball. They're not doing this. They're not doing that. Unfortunately, your family member is not the only case they're working on.
Yeah.
Murders, especially out here, happen. I wouldn't even know the statistics, but I would say multiple people are murdered an hour.
Yeah. I'm going to say there's probably someone right now.
I was going to say minute, but I thought that was a little.
Yeah. Yeah. It's probably
but
hour.
It's a lot.
So many per day.
And then you add on top of that car crashes. You add on top of that, like, they just
Domestic
have to patrol
abuse
and
and-
break-ins
Yeah.
and you know, the list goes on and on.
The
Homeless,
report writing.
the homeless population. It's, you know, it's
And there's not enough
a
people out
lot.
there that want to do that job.
and I don't blame them.
Yeah. It would be a tough job.
Yep.
So,
I don't blame them.
well, thank you for sticking around. If you're still here,
Yeah.
please, if you like us.
You made it to the 1 hour mark. Thank you.
You did. Please subscribe.
Subscribe,
below.
like,
Yes.
comment, notify, whatever they're called. Just push all the buttons.
Just push.
push them all.
Just click.
Push all the buttons. Click all of them. Yes.
But we really do enjoy doing this for you. And if you look at some of our past videos, catch up, you know, you'll see some of them more structured, some more shoot the shit. And
Yeah.
it just, you know, it's an array of things. You never know which Gina and Shannon you're going to get for the day.
That's
but
right. You don't
welcome.
know. Yeah. Right now you're getting a real tired version of me. But I
we're gonna-
promise
we're
I'll
gonna
come
do
back. I'll come back strong.
Well, thank you so
yeah.
much.
And
Gina has
please-
all the links.
Yeah, please. I have what?
You have all the links in your brain.
Oh, in my brain. Yeah. Yes, if you would like to purchase merch, you can purchase merch at 50statesofmadness.bigcartel.com. If you'd like to support us on Patreon, we are at patreon.com/50statesofmadness. We're on all podcast platforms. We have an Instagram and a TikTok, which I don't know if that's going to be affected.
Yeah, with the TikTok.
With the TikTok, I don't know. I don't know what's
Who
going
knows?
on. But we're at 50 States of Madness on Instagram, and I promise I really need to look into doing a Facebook page for us. So
I
I
know.
will
We
get
try.
started on that. And if you guys have any of these types of stories that have just kind of gone unsolved and whatever, if you have any that you would like us to cover or just read about, I would love to. So
Yeah.
comment below if you have any cases that are similar to this. I'd love to know about them.
Awesome.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Have a good week, and
Be
we'll see you
safe.
soon.
Bye.
Bye.